Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of my 1 million funded challenge, a series where I'm documenting the entire process till I get to $1 million in funding capital. And the main idea with this series is for me to post a video every single week where I show you the trades I took for the week, talk about my performance, and also open my Profirm dashboard so you guys can keep a track on my journey and my process, of course. Everything prioritizing transparency and of course legitimacy. So without further ado, let's just jump into what happened this last week. And actually, before jumping into what happened this last week, let me give you a quick recap of how we were doing last week, so episode 5. Okay, so this is my YouTube channel, so let's open in the last episode, which is episode 5. And I remember it was at around 650 something where I show, here. So the first ones are these two FTM accounts. So they were all down, so you guys can see the balance, so $49,133. So this one basically minus 2%, and this one a little bit more than 2% drawdown, so a little bit more like 2.1% in drawdown. So they were both minus 2% approximately. And let's jump into the other ones on Blueberry Funded. So this is the first one on Blueberry Funded. Yeah, so this one was at break even. Then let's see the other ones. This one was also at break even, and the other one was, where is it? The other one was also at break even. So I had last week on episode 5, 2 accounts on FTMO, minus 2% both. And the 350K accounts on Blueberry Funded, they were all at break even. So let's see how we performed on episode 6 this last week. Okay, so last week it was a interesting week. We had a couple of opportunities and we took in total 4 trades. So the first one was we started the week with a stop loss on GPAD. So a minus 1% in this case. You guys know that I'm risking 1% on every single one of the accounts I have at the moment. So in total, minus 1% on each. It was completely valid, so I had a liquidity sweep in here, a break of structure. We don't count this as a break of structure because there was no body close. So I was taking and counting the break of structure from this actual high. It was a big range, that's for sure, but it was completely valid, and I love the fact that we had a bunch of liquidity before or previous to our exit entry point in here. I was targeting at 1, 2, 3 as always. That trade didn't work, but it's all good. We accept the loss. Then NSET the JPY, that was a break-even trade. So we had the most recent liquidity sweep, break of structure, that was aggressive but completely valid with a huge fair value gap in here. And price tucked this in, immediately moves up to the 101. So we could actually look at it in the 1 hour. We can see that with just one candle, we reached our break-even and moved stops to break-even, and then price reversed back and stopped out at break-even. So we didn't lose anything in there. Then NSET the USD, this was a take profit, so a plus 3% in this specific position on every single one of my accounts. We had a clearly liquidity sweep with an impulsive break of structure with a body close, clear fair value gap. This was not a break of structure, so this was not a new range because there was no like new break of structure with body close. We can see that this was just kind of like a liquidity sweep, right? So I was just counting the overall range from this low to this high, breaking this structure. Target at 1, 2, 3, worked out perfectly, moved stops break even when price reached my 101, and we were able to capitalize in this position on every account. And finally, USD Chef. This is a very interesting position. Let me explain why. So initially, I was looking at this short position on USD Chef. So from this high to this low, so basically this, that it ended up being a take profit. The main reason why I didn't take this trade, like the initial position, it's because the fair value gap was already filled. This is something I need to test, but based on my data and based on my back testing, I usually avoid trades where the fair value gap in the overall move, it's filled. So for example, if we compared NSET the USD, we can see that this fair value gap wasn't filled, like there was still some remaining imbalance for price to just come down, tag this in, and then run into our expected direction, in comparison to this position on USD Chef where before even price did the break of structure, the gap was already filled. So this doesn't necessarily mean that the trade or the setup was invalid. It just means that it's something I haven't tested before. I don't have data to support this trade. That's why I decided to avoid it. But after this trade played out throughout the process or throughout price running into the expected direction, which was this one here, so this low, I saw this scale up position opportunity in here. So we can see it right there, a fair value gap, kind of like targeting this main low. And I entered risking 1% on every account and targeting this low right here. So what happened there? Well, price tagged this in with this candle and then run to the expected direction. What happened there? So based on my data and based on what I've backtested with this adding to winning positions or scale up approach, I've been actually targeting always a fixed 1 to 2 risk to reward, and that's what I did in this case scenario. But unfortunately, price never reached the 1 to 2 risk to reward, so we didn't actually hit the 1 to 2, so plus 2% on each account. We actually just got stopped out in here. I basically trailed my stops to the most recent high in here, and well, I got stopped out for a plus 0.4 R in profit. Of course, that's kind of like a break even, right? Compared to the 1 to 2 risk reward we were actually aiming for, and we were very close because it was just a 5 pips stop loss difference. Yeah, 5.7 pips difference from the TP. But yeah, this is much better than just getting stopped out for a -1 R or just getting stopped out at break even. At least we're able to make 0.44 R in this position specifically, which is at around $200, $250 in this position on each 50K account, which is not bad, of course. Bad, of course, is frustrating to see how price went super close to our take profit, and then we had to, of course, trail our stop loss. And yeah, that was basically everything for this week. Let me show you the by my journal how I'm doing so far for the year. So I'm currently up 26.6 R in profit for the year. We can see the equity curve. We just had, you guys know, the last week we had a horrible losing streak. Look at this huge drawdown, but then we're just starting to climb back in equity, and let's see if we can actually close the year in more than 30 R in profit. We'll see, of course. And so far we're up 2.4 R for December, so that's not bad, right? Consistent returns throughout the year, so nothing to complain about. And let me show you my dashboards real quick. So FTMO, we're currently at break even, so we came from being -2% to now break even. Of course, a little bit less than break even in this account specifically, but we can consider it at break even, right? This one, we're a little bit more than break even, but also let's call that break even. We can see that we were very good in profit, then we came back in this huge drawdown losing streak, and then now we're back at break even, so that's awesome. We recovered from last week. Then the first Blueberry funded account, we're at 1.5 R, 1.5% in profit in this one, and we were at break even, so that's not bad. Then this one 1.2% in profit, and then this one 1.35% in profit. So in simple words, we recovered from that horrible week we had in episode 5, and now we're again in profit in most accounts. So let's keep executing, and hopefully we can finish this year in much higher profit, or even maybe passing phase 1 in some of these accounts. So we'll see what happens this next week. But yeah, in simple words, we're doing great. We're still executing. We're staying consistent. We're accepting our losses, accepting our losing streaks based on data, and we're just staying on track. So that was all for this episode 6. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you much for joining this journey. And if you guys want me to keep posting these videos, let me know in the comments. If you don't follow me on Instagram, just make sure to do so. The link's in my bio right there. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.